Hi there, it's AJ from Cozy Suburban Homemaker, and today is Thursday, January 29th, 2026. And I was getting on here tonight because I was thinking about some things, and maybe you've thought about them yourselves, but um, I, so I'm 52 years old, and I'm in menopause. Yay! No, and actually, it's a very good thing for me. I had a really difficult time when I had my menstrual cycle growing up, like really difficult time. The week before, but I'm going to talk about that. But what I really want to talk about is how us as women and young girls, we don't really get an instruction manual. At least I didn't know how things worked with my body growing up. I like when I started my period. And guys, if you need to leave, go ahead. You can leave. You might not be interested in this topic, or you might be. I don't. You might be curious to know what we go through, and that would be good to understand what women go through in their life and their reproductive cycle. Um, so yeah, when I started my period, I had actually fallen on a. I was in the pool, and we had a spot. I was at my parents' house. Obviously, I was a kid, so I was like 11 or 12, and I was walking across the spot. It was like a tile. It was like tile walkway across the spa and the pool, and I fell and I landed legs like that. Ow, right? Okay. So and it hurt. Oh my gosh, it hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. And anyway, I found out I was bleeding. And I was in my room and I was crying. I was crying. I was so upset. I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was dying. I didn't know what had happened. And so basically, so my mom and my sister, they were out at the time. It was just my dad at home, maybe my brother. And I was too embarrassed to say anything to him, to my dad. It was pretty embarrassing. You're bleeding between your legs. That's, I don't want to tell my dad about that. So, anyway, so my mom and my sister got home I think they went out shopping that day, and they got home, and I don't know if I told my sister or my mom. I think I ended up telling my sister, and she probably ended up telling my mom. And I don't remember anything really being said about it other than like I was given some pads. I wasn't told that my period was starting, or I don't remember that anyway. And I didn't really know anything about it, or they might have told me I was gonna have it like once a month. It was my so yeah, I think the fall actually like doing that, it probably triggered the menstrual cycle. I don't know how it works. I'm not a doctor, but I can't believe I'm sharing this. I've never told anybody this story. So yeah, it's not something I talk about regularly. But anyway, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know that ovulation, you ovulate, and then you release the egg, and if it's not fertilized, or if it's fertilized, you become pregnant, and through sex you get pregnant. I didn't know anything. I was pretty naive. You wouldn't think so through the wild life I had as a teenager. But yeah, I wish that I would have understood more of what was going on with myself. And with the period, I ended up, not just because of that, But every time, every month, like right before, I would get crazy. And I did end up getting diagnosed later with schizoaffective disorder, but I think the disorder was intensified every month before my period started. And none of the doctors talked to me about that. I didn't know that that was a thing or that that could happen. And most things I found out by on my own. And when I grew up, this was the 80s, so they didn't have the internet, so you couldn't find out things on the internet. You know, at that time, you found out things through books, pretty much through reading and the library. And my mom did give me a book. She did give me a book to read, and that's what she usually did. She would give me a book to read about. It was about coming of age, so she did give me a book to read. So that was her way. But it would have been nice to have been sat down and, I mean, I'm not saying she did it wrong or anything, but I just didn't understand it. And another thing, I apologize if I'm rambling. I'm just speaking off the top of my head. But these are just thoughts I have. Like when I did have a baby, when we had my husband and I had our daughter, I had no idea what to expect with having a baby. I had no idea. You think having a child, it's all happy and I mean, it is happy. I mean, that was like the greatest day of my life when I gave birth to Lily, and it was amazing. But it had to have been the best day of my life. I was so happy. But what I'm saying is, it's not just happiness and joy all the time. It's hard work, and it's hard work having a child. Real hard work. It's a full-time job, and I really admire you women out there that have children and you're a single mother and you're raising your child and you're going to work. I really admire that. I was super fortunate that early on in our marriage, my husband and I decided I would stay home with our daughter and raise her, and we struggled. It wasn't easy. There were times my husband worked 2 jobs, but that's the way he wanted it. And a big part of it too, like I mentioned before, was I do have schizoaffective disorder, which made it really difficult for me to work. I get really paranoid and scared and just this is hard to talk about, but yeah, I feel like people are watching me, and I feel like there's cameras everywhere, so it's like a schizophrenic's worst fear. But yeah, when I was working, I think that there were cameras, and like I said, now there really are, but at the time it wasn't common for there to be cameras in the workplace, and I would think there were cameras that were watching me, and I don't know what it is about cameras and schizoaffective disorder. And I usually just say schizophrenia because that's some people haven't heard of schizoaffective. And what schizoaffective, the way I explain it is, I have symptoms of schizophrenia and I have symptoms of bipolar. So, like with the bipolar, I get with the manic depression or bipolar, you want to call it, with that part of it, I get really like high highs and low lows. So I get really hyper, which I'm a little hyper right now, but I'll stay up for sometimes days at a time, and then a lot of times when that happens, I'll end up having psychosis, and I get agitated, and sometimes I get really bad depression, and and um with the schizophrenia part of the schizoaffective, I have delusions. I'll think things that aren't true, and I'll really believe them. I mean, I like firmly believe them. I am a lot more aware than I used to be. A lot more aware than I used to be with it. When it's going on, I can recognize it, but it's still very scary, and it can be debilitating, and I know sometimes I scare other people. I mean, not like I don't go after them or anything like that, but seeing me when I'm sick is scary, because people don't know what to do. And and I started out, I wanted to talk about reproductive health. I didn't want to get on here and talk about the schizoaffective disorder. Just kind of, it's part of my life. And I might end up losing some followers because they don't want to, follow someone that has this condition, or they might, I don't know. It's really misunderstood. I'm actually a very gentle person. I know on the news you hear a lot about people with schizophrenia hurting people, or they have a mental illness, they hurt people, and I've never hurt anybody with my illness. I've always I've always been more likely to hurt myself. I haven't in a long time, but I have hurt myself with this condition, and like I said, I don't do that anymore. I've come a long way, but anyway, I'm getting uncomfortable talking about it. I'm really opening myself up. I fear like being rejected, and God, I don't want to cry. Lord Jesus, please. It's very lonely, and it's a very lonely condition to have, because I actually don't know anyone that has a mental illness. That's not true. My husband's brother has a mental illness, but I haven't seen him in a while, and he's actually in a facility, and he's a nice guy. He's got a heart of gold, but he doesn't do well with his medications, and yeah, he struggles a lot. And but he's a super nice guy, and I always felt a connection with him. Like when we get together for holidays and stuff, I always felt connected to him because we had the same mental health condition. And anyway, but like now currently I don't have any friends that have like schizophrenia or schizoaffective or even depression. Well, maybe actually I know someone that does have depression. I don't talk to her a whole lot though, but I know anxiety and depression are more common than schizoaffective and schizophrenia. They seem to be. It seems more accepted to have like anxiety and depression than like schizoaffective and schizophrenia. Even bipolar seems a little more accepted today than originally. Years ago, that's what I was diagnosed with. It was bipolar, and then like 20 years ago, they re-diagnosed me with schizoaffective. I had like a year-long psychosis. It was awful. It was like truly awful. It was a total nightmare. It was just a nightmare. And I want to talk about reproductive health. I'm talking about my illness. So, yeah, during that year, it was in 2000, I've lost a lot of things because of this illness. I've lost a whole lot. A whole lot. I have a ton of trauma in my life. A ton. I'm just a psychiatrist's dream or a psychologist's dream. So yeah. I have, yeah. There's like a ton of trauma in my life. I don't know how much I want to share tonight about all this stuff, but I'm just gonna take a deep breath. But what I wanted to say about reproductive health was, so when you have a baby, you don't realize how hard it's gonna be. I didn't know how hard it was gonna be to have our daughter. I didn't realize, I thought it all joy and happiness, and it was a ton of joy and happiness. It's still, being a mom is the greatest thing I've ever done. I mean, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. I'm very thankful and grateful we have our daughter. I mean, so thankful. I love her more than anyone in this world. I love her to death. I love her so much. And she's brought in so much joy to our family. And it's just me and my husband and our daughter. It's just the three of us. And actually, in my 20s, I had two girls that I couldn't take care of because of the illness in my early 20s. And I don't like to talk about that too much. It really hurts. And right now we're not speaking with each other. They don't like me very much. I don't think they understand the how severe my mental illness is. And I think they were told a lot of lies about me. But so yeah, they don't like me very much. So I've tried having a relationship with them. It just it's not reciprocated, and I don't know what the answer is. I pray for them all the time, and I love them. I will love them till the day I die, and I will always pray for them. Yeah. But they did grow up with the same family, and as far as I know, they're doing well right now. They're both in their 30s, early 30s. And my husband's daughter is 22 and soon to be 23. We had her when I was 30, and my husband was 32. Yeah, my husband's 2 years older than me. And yeah, we had our daughter in we got married in 2001, and we had our daughter in 2003. Yeah, that's right. So okay, this is turning into a longer video than I had planned. Sorry about that. But yeah, I didn't. So what I'm saying is, when even without a mental illness, and even with a supportive partner, it's hard having children. It is hard. They require all your attention, all your love, and all your time, and it's a lot of work, but the joy is amazing. The joy you get in return is amazing. But what I was saying, I didn't know when you had a child that it required so much work. Like when our daughter Lily was a baby, she would wake up. I mean, everybody knows this, I guess, now, or I don't know. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared to be a mom. I mean, it worked out fine. I had my husband. He was very supportive, extremely supportive, It still is. And my husband and I will be married 25 years this September, actually. Yeah, September 22nd is our 25th wedding anniversary. But yeah, she would stay up all night, and not all night, but she would wake up to get fed, and it's tiring. I didn't know how tiring it would be, and it was hard. It was hard, and at the time, my illness wasn't treated either, so it was extra hard. I was on medication for it, but I don't think I was taking it the way I should, and I didn't take my illness as serious as I do now, and it wasn't until 2005 that I really started taking my illness seriously. That's when I ended up being in a psychosis for a year. I was not in touch with reality for a full year, and it was very frightening. And I was taken advantage of by men and women, not just sexually, but I was stolen from, and yeah, it was a dark time. It was a real dark time. I had people coming into my apartment that I was staying at, and they would just come in whenever they wanted. I didn't even know these people. And one time I came back after I was out of the apartment for a little while, and I came back, and there was no, I kid you not, there was a man sitting on the couch with a shotgun, and there were some guys in the kitchen. They were doing a drug deal, and this is my place. This is where I was staying. These people didn't care. They didn't care. And I actually, because I was not right, I told the guy, I said, what are you doing in my apartment? What are you doing here? If you're going to shoot me, just shoot me. Shoot me. And I was like taunting him to shoot me. Praise Jesus. He didn't. He had a big gun. Yeah, that was just one of the many stories of that time. Our dog Carrie needs to go out right now. I'm gonna stop this and I'll get back to it. Okay, so I'm back. So our dog Carrie needed to go out. So let me know if you like videos of Carrie. It seems like when I share videos of our dog Carrie, they seem to do really well. So if you want to see more videos of Carrie, let me know in the comments. But take a deep breath. So yeah, so for a year I was not in my right state of mind, and I actually tried to get help when I noticed that things weren't going well for me. I called the psychiatric office that I received services from, and I tried getting help. I really tried to get help, and their answer, some of the order of things is skewed in my head. What happened at what time period, because like I said, I was not in my right frame of mind. But their answer was to put me on the streets. So I was married at the time, but I felt like I was in danger with my husband, and that was just the illness. He does have a temper, but he didn't hurt me or anything. I was scared by it. He would yell, and he didn't know how to deal with my illness. But yeah, most people don't know how to deal with my illness. So anyway, so I was actually homeless for 3 months, and during that time I stayed there was a place I'd go to during the day, and they actually had food there. They had good food, actually. So I was actually able to eat breakfast and lunch there. So I wasn't like completely like I was actually able to eat breakfast and lunch there, and then at night I would go to a shelter and sleep in a shelter. My first night there, someone stole my shoes, and then someone had said I had a big bag with my clothes in it, and someone said that they would hold on to it for me, and it's not that I was stupid, I just wasn't thinking clearly, and so I let him take my bag of clothes, and I never saw my clothes again. So, and yeah, I can tell story after story during that time period. Some of it is just too painful. I don't want to get into everything. So yeah, I hear someone outside. And there's people walking by outside. Anyway, I just want to. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I heard people out there. Anyway. What the heck? Sounds like they're arguing. I'm gonna turn this off for a second. Okay, it was my daughter. She's on the phone. This wall right here, right behind this wall is her bedroom. So she's in her room on her phone. But so yeah, so I was homeless for 3 months, but it wasn't as bad as it sounds. It wasn't as bad as like how some people they don't stay in a shelter or anything. I mean, it was bad. Don't get me wrong. It was real bad, but it wasn't as bad as it could be, I suppose. And also during that year-long psychosis, I was in jail 3 times. I was in jail 3 times. I never been in trouble with the police in my whole entire life, and I actually went to jail 3 times. And the first time I went, I was well, I had at one point at the start of the psychosis, I had left with my daughter, and I had left because I felt like my daughter and I were in danger from my husband. So I left, and I really believed this in my mind. I firmly believed that we were in serious danger with my husband. So in the middle of the night, I left, and we stayed at a hotel, and anyway, to make a long story short, my husband, a girlfriend of mine who was also my counselor at one point, I talked to her and I told her where I was staying, the hotel I was staying at, and she let my husband know. So I'm glad she did. I'm really glad she did. I'm super glad she did. So he came to get Lily, and Lily was only she wasn't even 2 yet. I'm losing my voice. Anyway, so my husband came and he got our daughter, and at the time the police were called when he came to get her. But anyway, he got her, and I still didn't come home, and I was getting crazier and crazier, and everything is kind of scattered, like the order of things, but I had gone to this store that was next to the hotel, and I had a little bit of money on me, and I think I got cigarettes because at the time I was smoking. It sounds like I'm smoking now. I'm not. My voice is cracking. That's why. But I haven't smoked in over 8 years, cigarettes, and well, I don't smoke anything. But anyway, and I don't drink alcohol either. I stopped that just about 6 years ago. But so I was at this store, and I actually had our dog with us. So at some point I went home and got our dog. I don't know, but I had my dog with me. And anyway, there was a guy standing outside of the store. It wasn't a QT, but it was like a convenience store, and he had just gotten out of jail. And I ended up giving him like $50, and then he needed a ride somewhere, and so I was giving him a ride. So I was taking him to this park. He was meeting some friends, and on the way, when we were at the park, so we got to the park, he left, and then I was sitting in the park for a while, and I was having massive delusions, like massive delusions. I was thinking, I heard church bells going off, and I was having like religious delusions. And at one point, sorry Jesus, but I believed I was Jesus, and obviously I'm not, not even close. But I believed I was. And I started yelling at people walking down the street. I started condemning them to hell. Not that I think Jesus would do that. I mean, not like the way I was doing that. And I was like yelling at them, I know what you did. You're going to hell. And yelling at these people walking down the street. I didn't touch anybody, but I was screaming and yelling at these people walking down the street. And because I was in a psychosis and having delusions. Anyway, so someone called the police, and the police showed up, and I had a bag that had an empty soda can and an empty pack of cigarettes in there, or I don't know, there might have been cigarettes in there, but it was an empty soda can, and it was just like a grocery store bag, and the police came to talk to me, and I was sitting on a curb, or they had me sit down on the curb, and they were talking to me, and I don't think I wasn't saying anything to them, because I thought if I said something bad would happen. This is in my mind at the time. I didn't know. But one of the cops asked what was in my bag when he reached for it, and I thought what was in my bag was very important, that I couldn't let him have what was in my bag. So I pulled the bag toward me, and when I did that, they pulled me up off the ground, and they pushed me up against the car, and they put me in handcuffs, and they put me in the car, and I actually had my dog at the time, and they put my dog in the car with me, and I remember sitting in the back of the police car, and they took my dog out of the car, and they were taking pictures with our dog. So anyway, and then so from there, I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. I mean, I knew it wasn't good. But during that time, they brought me to a jail cell. And actually, my husband and my father-in-law showed up there, and they got the dog. But I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I probably should have. They probably would have gotten me out of there. But I didn't. I was sick. I mean, I was like really not in my right state of mind, and thinking all kind of weird stuff. And anyway, I went to jail. The charges were actually assault on an officer, but I never laid my hand on the officer. The only thing I did was pull the bag away when they went to grab the bag. I just pulled the bag away, but I didn't touch them or anything. So, but the charges were assault on an officer. It was actually a felony. But I don't know if they dropped it to I think they dropped it to a misdemeanor. Well, they set this charges aside. I contacted them years later, and they actually set the charges aside. They don't do oh, what is it called? I don't know. So anyway, so I went into jail, and that was a nightmare in itself. Because I didn't have any medication, and I was just not well, and it was awful. It was terrible. I was there for 2 weeks. Yeah, and I didn't go to prison. I was just in the local jail. I was there for 2 weeks, and I was actually there on my daughter's 2nd birthday, and I was so upset that day. I was so upset. So that was one adventure. Anyway, I'm going to end this now. Maybe I'll share more of that time period in another video, but this is a really long video, and I'm sorry I got off track. I really had wanted to talk about reproductive health, and it ended up talking about the schizoaffective disorder I have. So anyway, if you stay this long for the video, I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here with me, and I hope you stick around. I promise you, I'm a nice person. I'm really not a criminal, and I love Jesus. I really do love Jesus. And anyway, I'm being goofy now. So anyway, God bless you, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.